need a light? Hey, Pat. With maybe like a little bit.
Yeah. I will.
Sure that doesn't make me look glossy? Okay.
Nice.
Bonjour à toutes et à tous et bienvenue sur Blabla Katie. My name is Katie and today we are going to blabla about when to link French words part 2. Before continuing on with this video, you should definitely watch part 1. I will put the link in the description box below. In that first video, I talked about what a liaison is, how certain consonants change their sounds when used as a liaison, and also when liaisons are required in French. In part 2 of when to link French words, we're going to go over optional liaison. There is going to be one more part to these videos that have to do with forbidden liaison. So make sure to subscribe if you don't want to miss that, and let's get started. So you should be looking at 2 sentences. Just try to read them out loud. At the end of this video, you'll be doing the same activity and I will give you the correct pronunciation at that point. You also want to keep in mind the rules that we went over in the first part of this video because there are some required liaisons in these sentences. So there are 6 different categories of optional liaison that I'm going to go over, and I'm going to start with the liaisons that are more common, and with the 2 or 3 last categories, I'm going to go over them a little more briefly just because they're less common and sound way more formal. First, one of the most common categories for optional liaison are after plural nouns. For example, if you have the words livre and étrange after, livre is plural and on its own you don't hear the S. If you still don't really know the rules for when and why French letters are silent, definitely recommend checking out one of my recent videos on just that. I will also put the link to this in the description box below. Since the word that follows the plural livre starts with a vowel, you then have the option of pronouncing the S or of keeping it silent. So you can say des livres étranges without the liaison, or des livres étranges. And don't forget that the S is going to sound like the Z. It's the same thing, for example, with les hommes attendent or les hommes attendent. Here, is plural with an S, and you have the option of pronouncing it or not pronouncing it. But faites attention, the les that comes before you are required to pronounce the S because les is a determiner. If this sounds foreign to you, once again, go check out part 1 of this video. It'll make a lot more sense. You have the option of using the liaison in French when you have a 2-part verb. So for example, if you're using the tense passé composé, you're going to have 2 different words that make up this verb tense. Je suis allé. Or you can say je suis allé. So the liaison is optional between these 2 parts of the verbal expression. The same goes for the futur proche, tu vas arriver or tu vas arriver. The 3rd category for the optional liaison are after the present tense of the verb être. So if you have être and an adjective, elle est heureuse or elle est heureuse. The present tense of être plus an adverb, elle est ici, elle est ici. And finally, the present tense of être followed by a noun. Elle est américaine, elle est américaine. So even though these first 3 categories of liaison in French are optional, they are very commonly heard in spoken French. The next 3 categories, increasingly they are less and less common, and to be honest, from this point onward, I personally don't use the liaison. If you do choose to use the liaison for these 3 remaining categories, you're not incorrect, but the register is going to sound more formal and more sophisticated, so it really depends on your goals. But the 4th category of optional liaison are after multiple syllable adverbs and prepositions. For example, I would say après avoir mangé, but you can also say après avoir mangé. The same goes for depuis une semaine, depuis une semaine. Les deux marchent. You can also use the optional liaison after some conjunctions. For example, mais, maison, or just mais on. And the final category, which if you were to use these liaisons, you would be speaking at a very, very high register. This means you would sound super formal, super sophisticated, but you do have the option of using the liaison between a verb and an article or a preposition or a noun. You can say on prend un café or on prend un café. And you can have that liaison between prend and un. Printemps. Again, this is something that I would never use and it does sound very, very formal, but you do have the option to use the liaison there as well. So those are all the different categories for the optional liaison in French. And the beauty of them is that if you forget them, you're not going to be incorrect. So now we're going to go to the final assessment. You're just going to again read out loud these same 2 sentences. I will give you the correct responses in a few seconds. For the first sentence, ils aiment lire des livres utiles. Or you can say, ils aiment lire des livres utiles. In the sentence, you have an optional liaison between livre and utile. And this goes with the first category of optional liaison, a plural noun followed by something else that starts with a vowel. So you can say livres utiles or livres utiles, comme vous voulez. But you should note that there is a required liaison in the sentence as well, and this is between il and aiment. Ils aiment. If you're not sure why, again, just go check out the first part to this video, it will clarify a lot of things. And for the second and final sentence, elle est allée aux États-Unis avec une amie qui est agréable. Or you can say, elle est allée aux États-Unis avec une amie qui est agréable. In the sentence, you have two optional liaisons. Both of them are after the verb être. In the first instance, it's because you have a two-part verbal expression. It's passé composé. You have est and aller, est allé, or you can just say est allé, comme vous voulez. And the second être is the present tense of the verb, followed by an adjective that starts with a vowel. Est agréable or est agréable. And there are two required liaisons which are found in aux États-Unis. Aux États-Unis. So that is all for this very quick lesson on optional liaison in French. I will be coming out with the final installment to these videos next week for the forbidden liaison, and then we can finally say au revoir to the liaison. If you have any questions at this point, of course, put them in the comments down below. I will get to them as soon as I can. And if you got any value out of this video, please do give it a thumbs up. And finally, don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. Okay, that really is all for now. À la prochaine!